Good afternoon, and thank you for joining the InfoSim Global Webinar Day. Our topic for today's session is Logical Factory, Virtualizing Manufacturing for Agility. My name is Dietmar Kneidl from InfoSim, and I will be moderating today's event. And we have quite a number of presenters today, so I'm going to introduce them real quick to you. A welcome to Priya Chidambaranathan from Infosys. Good afternoon, Priya.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Hi, everyone.
You're welcome. Also, a welcome to Dr. Darren Williams from TWI. Good afternoon, Darren.
Hello. Pleasure to be welcomed. Good afternoon, everybody.
And we welcome George Glass from British Telecom. Good afternoon, George.
Good afternoon. Hello to everybody.
And also a warm welcome to Massimo Banzi from Telecom Italia. Good afternoon, Massimo.
Good afternoon, everybody.
And a welcome to Bill Malik from Enterprise Web. Good morning, Bill. Glad you made it.
Good morning, everybody. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, you've had your morning coffee already, Bill?
I have.
Okay, wonderful.
I'm ready to go.
Excellent. And finally, a welcome to my colleague, Dr. David Hock from InfoSim. Good afternoon, David.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
All right. Well, now that we've done the introduction, before I hand over to our first speaker, Darren, just a couple of things. First off, all of you are muted when joining our webinars in order to keep down the background noise. So if you have questions, please type them in the questions area of the GoToWebinar application. I'm sure you found that one by now. And as usual, we'll be answering your questions either directly during the webinar or at the end in a quick Q&A session. So don't hold back. Let us know if you have questions. We're also recording this event, so everybody who is registered for the webinar will get an email tomorrow with a link to that recording. And well, that's all from my end. So I'd like to go ahead to hand over control to our presenters. And as I've mentioned before, I think Dr. Darren Williams from TWI is the one to pick the mic at the start. So Darren, it's your show now.
Thank you very much. So, hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Darren Williams, and I'm the Welding Systems Manager at TWI. TWI is a research and technology organization established in the United Kingdom from around 1946. Our mission is to deliver world-class services in joining materials, and our core expertise is on joining materials effectively and understanding how joints perform in service. So our company is made up of 5 UK sites, and we have 14 international locations. We operate on a membership basis, and we have around 800 industrial members across 3,500 worldwide locations. And examples of some of our members can be shown on the slide, as you see there. For example, British Energy, Honda, Airbus, Siemens, a few of those there. As the systems team manager at TWI, I'm responsible for digital manufacturing R&D across TWI. Therefore, this means implementing new digital solutions internally and externally for all our members. Okay, next slide, please. So this catalyst focuses on manufacturing process, which is completed over multiple manufacturing sites across the UK, and demonstrates a new platform which can be used to manage the life cycle of manufacturing and maintenance across those sites. For proving the concept, we've decided to use a selective laser melting process, which in this example can be used to manufacture hip implants. As a brief overview of the process, the parts, as you can see on the screen, the part is built up layer by layer. Powder is deposited evenly over the substrate. The substrate is the square block you see, which the parts sit on. This is deposited evenly via a wiper mechanism, and then laser melts and fuses the powder together where required for the component. The loose powder is removed, and the process is repeated to build up layer by layer to the final components that you see. So the first image is post-manufacture, so right after it's being manufactured in the SLM machine. This process is done on one of our manufacturing sites. The second image highlights the support structures which are built with the part. These are removed manually, and then the part is machined to give the final product which you see on the right. So that's an overview of the process and the parts. I'd like to now hand over to George Glass at BT.
Thank you, Darren. Yes, and good afternoon. It's a pleasure to talk to you all. Darren mentioned the fact that we were looking at a logical factory. It differs from a physical factory in that it is actually made up, in this instance, of 3 or 4 physical factories that we have brought together as a single logical factory. And this work is building upon an award-winning catalyst on the smart industrial manufacturing robots as a service. And we had demonstrated the use of TM Forum open APIs and IoT type services whenever we're ordering, configuring robots. We've taken that a stage further, and we've basically said each of our factories will have robots and other people and other processes functioning within those factories. And the actual manufacturing process for something like a hip joint that Darren referred to is distributed across multiple sites. But as the owner of the product, I want to be able to put my hip joint in for manufacture and actually track its progress across the multiple sites and know when to expect delivery. Also, as the runner or the owner of the factory or the manager of the factory, I want to know how many hip joints are coming to me and how many to expect to have to work on so I can manage my workflow. And that's what we've been able to do. We've been able to build an industrial manufacturing platform that actually allows us to manage the life cycle of the products that we're manufacturing across the multiple sites. It also gives us, because we've got visibility of the processes, the people, the data, and the components within each factory, it gives us the ability to actually look at the maintenance across the different sites and also monitor the progress of the production or other services that are going on. The whole idea is that we're reusing artifacts that have been designed for architecture and services that were initially deployed into the oil and gas industry, and we've now taken them across into manufacturing, thereby showing the portability of the standard services that we're building through the TM Forum. It also has allowed us to demonstrate the new business opportunities that can be realized in this very fast-growing industry of Internet of Things. We've deliberately designed the digital services reference architecture of the TM Forum to allow a plug-and-play type scenario and allow us to bring services together from multiple locations or providers to appear to be from a single location or from a single provider. If I move on to the next slide, you can see how we've now flexibly, and we're able to demonstrate or show this in the demonstration, flexibly connect people to processes, connect the capability and the data sources to allow us to effectively dynamically compose an enterprise, so build up an enterprise from these different components. And through automating the manufacturing process in each of the locations and joining those locations together virtually, we've been able to get real-time data from all of the participant systems. So if the system is part of the overall end-to-end process, through our dashboards, we can see what it's doing at any point in time and understand the status of that physical factory in the context of the logical factory. And it also then allows us to coordinate the actual machines on the factory floor, thereby optimizing the flow through within the factories, prioritizing demand and resourcing levels in the factories depending on what's coming down the pipeline. And that allows both our systems and the people to be dynamically connected to our solution, and they've got full visibility end to end of the process. And depending on role you've got, you get a slightly different view, which I believe David will talk about in his next set of slides. So I'm going to hand back to Darren to take you through the end-to-end process for the manufacturing.
Yes, thank you very much for that, George. So as mentioned, each of the manufacturing steps are done at different facilities across the UK, and these are indicated in the workflow diagram shown on the slide. So once we get an order from the customer, at our factory in Rotherham, we manufacture the part, and then post-manufacturing, the part is couriered down to Cambridge, where we do the mechanical testing of the part and the heat treatment of the part, and then it's moved again to Wales, where we have the non-destructive testing of the part, and then the parts finally shipped back to the customer. So current challenges exist around a lack of automation across our facilities and the present need for manual data input. For example, people are responsible for calculating customer quotes, raising and tracking return of work requests, deciding machine scheduling and identifying maintenance activities, etc. Therefore, by capitalizing on Industry 4 strategies, which are underpinned in the developed platform that this catalyst presents, we estimate that we could unlock direct savings of around 23 million, and these are attributed from various sources. For example, in administrative time, where we can vastly improve our quotation time and commercial reviews, and also develop standardized electronic processes. And also 200 million indirect savings attributed from a reduction in waste, a faster time to market, increased system efficiencies, and increased flexibility across manufacturing processing sites. I'd now like to hand over to Bill Malik at Enterprise Web, so he can go a bit more detail into the platform we've developed. Thank you.
Thanks, Darren. So at Enterprise Web, we're providing what's really the enabling application fabric, or the thing that in this kind of a case actually connects the logical factory. George had talked earlier about how you'd like to be able to dynamically compose processes, and you'd like to really be able to, if you want, fit these pieces together like they're Lego blocks. So taking all of the disparate factories that you can see represented on this diagram as the boxes in the blue shade, you'd like to be able to take all of the systems that might exist at those locations, regardless of the types, protocols, interfaces that they have, and you'd like to be able to find that one sort of pane of glass that can show you what the processes and state are of each one of those, so you can build your dynamic processes like that workflow chart that Darren had just showed you. And then the other side of that is that you also need to be able to connect all of the supporting services. So on the right, you see the diagrams there, the diamonds that are showing things like a workflow scheduler, a resource management service. So what you'd like to be able to do is connect up both the physical and sort of virtual cloud-based services. And the way that we're doing that is by leveraging a lot of the dynamic, leveraging the dynamic APIs pattern within Enterprise Web. And basically, we're taking each one of those, onboarding them to our platform, and effectively, we're doing mediation. So we're pushing all of their what you would almost, in some places, you'd hear called proprietary APIs. Really, it's the APIs that have all the specialization and all the special features that someone like InfoSim or Infosys provides. And what you'd like to be able to do is basically map those into some of the open APIs by a place like the TM Forum. So that's what's supporting this map of basically the logical factory. Could you shift to the next slide, please? So how Enterprise Web does that is that we provide a domain model that's basically capturing all of the sort of high-level semantics of the area. In this kind of a case, it includes domains from IoT, telecom, and so on. And what we're providing is sort of a one-stop portal where each of the different participants, InfoSim, for instance, Infosys, can go on and literally onboard in a model-driven process all of their APIs. They can describe to the system that it's REST-based or JSON-based or any of those kind of technical details, and then the system will effectively map for them from their inputs to this domain model. So they're able to say, well, I'm accessing things like analytics, or I'm using onboarding services, and they're all described in terms that are displayed by the forum. And basically what we do is make it very easy for one of these partners to stitch their components into the value fabric. I'll pass it on now to one of those Lego blocks. David will go into describing how the InfoSim components are working.
Thank you very much, Bill. So in order to explain the Lego brick that we are bringing into that catalyst, I quickly want to recap again, comparing phase 1 and phase 2 of this catalyst. So as mentioned before by my colleagues, in phase 1 of this catalyst, we were mainly focusing on single robot cells in disparate facilities and how those robots can be connected to the cloud using digital TM Forum REST open APIs. And actually in this year's catalyst, we extended the scope to also include the disparate facilities into one so-called logical factory and also including the telco network in between. And in order to do that, the role InfoSim was playing is what we call in our team the resource-facing manager of managers. So actually what we are doing at InfoSim side is bringing together all the data from IoT and telco domain and aggregating it to provide one holistic visualization of the overall system. So that means that we are integrating with different third-party managers for the IoT and telco domain space and taking the data from there and aggregating it. More precisely, we want to offer different views for different types of customers and people interacting with the system. So this means we could have, for instance, customers A or customer B who are actually looking at their particular resources being used to produce a certain part they are currently producing. They would not see the whole factories, but they would only see those machines that are currently being used for producing their parts. Another use case is a factory owner who actually wants to see all the parts of their particular factories, but shouldn't be allowed to see other factories that are not belonging to the same company. Yet another option, yet another example is a telco that obviously should see their part of the networks, but not necessarily any information about the factories. An important thing here is that we are not talking about normal multi-tenancy as we would have it in quite classical static environments where you set up multi-tenancy once a day, once a week, or even more rarely than that, and you are actually keeping the access rights to certain components for a long time. But here we are talking about highly dynamic multi-tenancy, where whenever a new product production is started, suddenly the access rights on who is allowed to see what are changing. So you need highly dynamic adaptations to that. And we are actually using our solution StableNet combined with the TM Forum REST open APIs to show how this can be leveraged. So therefore, we also offer a linkage to the IoT domain managers and the potential third-party telco NMSs, which allow a further drill down. And this is actually the part where I want to hand over to my colleague Priya from Infosys to explain more about their Lego brick in the catalyst. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. So the other Lego block in this entire solution is the IoT domain manager. We used Infosys CREMS platform to play this role. Basically, this connects with the multiple physical factories and, and provides a logical view for the IoT domain. IoT domain manager is leveraged to analyze IoT data sets coming from different factories, provide timely alerts, a real-time view on the manufacturing of parts and maintenance of the industrial machinery processes for varied personas. So here you can see in the slide, it talks about the administrator, area manager, factory manager, and maintenance engineer. It also helps them to take timely alerts supported by closed-loop automations. CREMS platform connects with varied IoT devices, capabilities, and data sources, and it supports both historical data analysis and also the real-time data. We leveraged enough open APIs for the upstream integration through the application fabric, which is from Enterprise Web. You can see here the different parameters that we had used for the IoT data, basically like the temperature, pressure, door status, scanner, etc. This is completely like configurable. We can include as many attributes as required. It's completely configurable, dynamic in nature. It also provides the required insights, alarms, and incidents. How to handle that? It looks into varied sources of events and logs. provides real-time status and online dashboard views. Next slide, please. So in this view, you can see in the SLM monitoring process, we can actually go the drill down views. When we talk about the area manager, it looks at the logical factory holistically, which integrates multiple physical factories together. So the area manager can go into each of the factories, can drill down and see what is happening over there, both in the manufacturing processes and maintenance processes. And also look at like how the individual robots are performing, what's the kind of thresholds that are set up for that. Any kind of administrative work also can happen over there. The next category is the factory manager. He will not get the logical factory view, but the physical factory which he is associated with. So he can further drill down deeper into that specific factory. Same case with the maintenance engineer. He will be associated with a specific robot or the associated services. So he or she can have the focus on that specific device and the work associated with that. So they can work on any of these incidents if it is a monitoring process, and can directly help in sorting out that issue and close the incident through this dashboard itself. So it's a completely integrated view, and logically, like it can show the end-to-end view also to the individual personas for the specific areas they are owning. Now I hand over to Massimo to cover the TMF specific work that we have been focusing on.
So also this catalyst strongly made use of the assets provided by the TM Forum. And I am talking, of course, of the processes in ETOM, the models in SEED, the application in TAM, or the matrix developed within the TM Forum, but mostly of the APIs. As you know, there is a program in TM Forum which developed a RESTful API, which have been strongly used within the Catalyst. Several of these API have been used, but not just used. Of course, the experience that can be collected during the development of a Catalyst can provide improvement, and so contributing to the program of the TM Forum by improving the APIs, as this Catalyst also did. Test API rather than resource API. And this is the grid value that Catalyst can do, can take some real experience into theory. And this is what we as operators in a world which is strongly evolving and where we cannot spend effort and time for nothing, we need a practical approach. And this is a great value to us. And if we switch to the next slide, thank you, we see what is the overall value and the benefits that we can gather from this catalyst. It comes in the realm of the Industry 4.0, which is one of the most important topics of the 5G evolution that every telco operator is ongoing in this period, of course. And in this case, the possibility of having a production process spread on several sites in several industries, seen as if it was done in just a room close to us, using the manager of managers that has been talked about before, in a productive way, in giving us all the information and the transparency of the interaction of what is happening, in a way that give, how to say, security not just to the overall virtual industry, but also in case, for instance, we are part of a company which is working for several other projects. I want just what is of specific interest for the virtual industry to be seen and not other things. So a protection of the data that I can share is just one part of an overall environment. And of course, the advantage that can come from automation, from end-to-end automation of a production process. More, the fact that the experience that has been collected along in this catalyst can be easily reused, because we had an example, but it can be used in whatever sector we can imagine, because the scope can expand as we want. And this, I repeat, are great advantages in a day in which the idea of Industry 4.0 is, well, for sure in the Telecom Italia plans is a high level, but I am sure also in many other telco companies. That's all my side. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Massimo. This is Dietmar Kneidl from Infosym again. So thank you very much, and thank you very much to all our other presenters for this really interesting session. I have uploaded the slides we've been using for this webinar in the meantime in our handout section, so if you're interested in those, feel free to download them. And I've also picked up a few questions, and I've decided that two of them might be of interest for all of our audience. One question is from one of our audience members, and he wanted to know if it is possible to join this or maybe another catalyst. He wants to know how this works, whom he should talk to, who would be the right contact person. And I think that maybe Darren might be the right person to answer this one. Darren, are you up to that?
Yes, I'm happy to answer this one. Okay, first off, thank you very much for the question. So TM Forum organise and run the Catalyst programs. It tends to be on an annual basis. I'd be very happy to connect you with the right person at TM Forum so that we can have a one-to-one discussion or a team discussion on roles and responsibilities, how to join the team, what kind of role you may want to play in the team, etc. So yeah, please get in touch with me. My contact details are on the screen now, and then I will put that in motion. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. And for those of you who are wondering where to see those contact details, they're actually hidden in the links. So if you are interested in the contact details, I think you can see them now. Since David is mousing over those details, please download the PDF version of the slides we're providing. There's a second question that I think might be suitable for David. So David, listen up. This one is for you. One of our audience members wanted to know what could be the next steps in this catalyst. I think he spotted that, I think it was Darren saying that this is already phase 2 of a catalyst that was successful last year. So is there going to be a phase 3? David, maybe you can shed some light on this one.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. Hopefully I'm able to answer it. So yes, there are definitely discussions going on how we could continue to work on that, and we have got great feedback again from this year's event. So we are definitely discussing next possibilities. So as Darren already mentioned, there are regular catalyst phases going on at TM Forum events, and if I'm not mistaken, there is not just the next year's TM Forum Nice event, but there are also events coming up at the end of this year in other ports of the globe. So we are currently still discussing the details. The best thing probably is if you are particularly interested in next phases, you could look at the TM Forum Action Week in September, which is taking place in Vancouver, because this is definitely, from my own experience, a good place to get in touch with other TM Forum related companies and people and to discuss what are the possibilities. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks for that, David. And well, this pretty much concludes our session here today. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. And as I've mentioned earlier, we have recorded this event and the recording will be made available to you with a quick email. And well, that's all from us today. So thank you very much for joining, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.